If you haven't watched the previous videos, I suggest going and doing that. This video is obviously in itself, you can watch it, but it'll be make more context with the previous videos we're talking about. But today we're going to talk about how to be the best, especially in trading, but in life, you don't want to be mediocre. Everyone talks about, oh, you got to be the best version of yourself and all that sort of stuff. But that's all great. I'm going to try and give you a diagram of what that looks like and kind of a deeper dive of how we approach being the best, especially in trading, and the hurdles we have to go through, as well as, um, some mental pitfalls that are associated with sometimes the line of thinking that we have. So, um, as we look at being the best, this will be in parentheses your very best. So obviously, some people are born with skill sets that you don't have. That's fine, right? I'll never be LeBron James. I'll never probably make it to the NBA if I wanted to. I'm not 7 foot. I'm not 270 pounds, huge muscles. It's just not possible. So when we're talking about being the best, we'll put in your very best in terms of the skill sets that you were created with, God gave you. How can you use those to your utmost potential? And you really don't know what that's going to be, right? We're always striving for something that's somewhat intangible in terms of our mind of what we're able to do. So we'll look at that. So it's obviously stems from the subconscious, and we'll look at that. But the problem with being the best, and I guess the hard part about actually being the best, is sometimes starting off is the most difficult thing. And that starting period of striving and the starting period of maintaining the strive is very difficult. Why? Because as we talked about in the previous episodes, right, we want to be reshaping our identity, reshaping our subconscious to where our individual actions, as we become process focused, are more in line with who we are. We get satisfaction, we get our intrinsic motivation from the fact that our identity states that we are process focused and things like that. But the problem with um, that kind of thinking is obviously there's a flip side to it, which is this video here, which is where as you continuously sometimes fail in things, as you continuously find something hard, as you continuously find struggle in certain aspects of life, and you fail, you may subconsciously then tell yourself, oh, these are my conditions, right? So we tend to, number one, we tend to subconsciously accept our reality. So what happens is, as those things are difficult, right? You are failing accounts, or you're struggling with psychology, or your model's not working. We then subconsciously believe that's who we are as a person. We no longer think that, oh, this is, we may want to be the best, but our actions and everything else is telling us that's not who we are, right? So we accept sometimes our reality, and it makes it very hard to make any action towards being the best. And that's why you see, comfort being the big drug of 2025. If you're in a state of comfort, you're never going to want to change. That change is more painful than sitting in the comfort you're in right now. So I'm very big on trying to remove a lot of that, sustained comfort that we have in our lives with our phones, with social media, with everything around us is catered towards our comfort, at least in these first world countries that most of us live in. Right. So just like in any other aspect of our life, we try to be the best. Okay. I play a lot of, or I used to play a lot of video games. I don't as much as now, but when I do play video games and when I do play sports, I want to win. I want to be the best. I want to be in my respective position, in my respective game. I want to be, at least amongst my friends, I want to be the best. I don't want anyone to be able to, 1v1 me, and I don't have some sort of fighting chance to just absolutely crush them. That's kind of my mentality for certain things. I'm sure you have something like that, either whether it's a sport or whether it is a sport that you watch, maybe, or a video game, or just a friendly competition. There's some aspect of your life that you already subconsciously accept that you are the best at that within your respective friend group or realm of dealing with that sort of topic, right? But why is it sometimes that we believe that we can't be the best trader? Why is it sometimes we think that things are unachievable? Things are outside of our scope of possibilities. We have limiting beliefs of why we can't be the best trader, or why we can't be the very best version of ourselves as a trader, right? Um, so you have to be striving in every field that you're doing to be the best in order, I think, to have a fulfilling life. If you just accept this, oh, this is how it is sort of mentality with anything, I don't think you're really trying to constantly trying to get better. Obviously, as you progress and as you meet the upper limits of what's possible, then sure, you may not always improve, but you maybe are sustaining that upper limit, which is what we're trying to strive for. So um, the problem with this is sometimes we have this internal belief system that we will hate ourselves when we become the best, or we simply hate those who are the best. Okay. I'll give you an example. There's someone probably in your life that is gifted or very fluent in something that they do, whether they were born like that or they worked for it. We have either maybe not present or maybe in the past, there was someone that was better than you at something and you didn't like them for whatever reason, right? Sometimes we portray ourselves that same way. Our fear is if we become the best trader, if we kill all of our goals, if we destroy the competition, we somehow will subconsciously not like ourselves, or other people's won't like ourselves, and we'll get into that as well. And then we therefore don't actually accomplish anything. That fear itself is holding us back because we fear that we are going to become someone that we hate, the very person that we don't like to become, the person that's good at everything, the person that um, is maybe wealthy, is able to provide for other people, or do all these sorts of things. We may not like the person who does all that. So then we subconsciously just accept our reality, and we no longer want to be that best version because we're scared of either what that may entail, or that we actually don't like that maybe our outlook of that version of ourselves we don't like for whatever reason. We think we may be prideful. We think we may be doing too much. We may think that we're too good at something, which, when you actually say it out loud, it's like, that doesn't make any sense, right? But really think about it. You may not like that person, and it may not be for any reason. It's just you just simply just don't like for whatever reason, right? So as you become the very best, as you strive for this, that also kind of segues into number two, which is the fact that you will be hated. Okay. There's going to be people in your life, maybe people in your family, people close around you. As you become the best version of yourself, you may hate it. And I'm trying to remove that self hate and replace it with self love in this video, but you will be hated by others, right? There's just no getting around it, especially if you're in this sort of um, community and you're in trading. You want to be the best. You want to be able to provide. You want to create wealth. And some people are just not okay with that, right? People will like you up until you pass them, and then as soon as you pass them, you become a threat or you become someone who's hated. So being hated is almost unavoidable. And the reason that you're hated, and the reason that you may hate other people who are above you, or like we said, if you may subconsciously hate who you may become, the people who hate you for potentially being wealthy or being a trader or whatever it may be, or because you have freedom, is not because they maybe intrinsically hate you. It's because you remind them of what they could have been. You remind them of their aspired dreams that failed. You remind them of the hard work that was put into something and you succeeded, and they don't like that. You remind them of what they could have been. So they hate you because they can't beat you anymore. They're no longer above you, even though they gave up on their dreams, even though they gave up on their aspirations. You're no longer below them, so they have no choice but to hate you. Right? So as we look at the, kind of the self version of this, you may hate this version of yourself subconsciously because you know that that's something that you maybe don't think that you can do. You think that that version of yourself is something that you don't like because you know that that's the version that works for their dreams. That's the version that was there before you were. That's the version that at 18 was a multimillionaire instead of now you're 21 or whatever it may be. Or, the 20-year-old version of yourself, but it's never too late. To live in regret and to accept that reality is just like we're going back to this. We're just accepting this reality and living in the comfort of it. Okay, so being hated is somewhat unavoidable. And like I said, it's never this ill intent towards you. It's just a lot of times it's ill intent towards themselves. You remind them of what they could have been, right? So sometimes a lot of this hate is we think that we're going to be prideful. We think that when we become the best, we're going to become prideful and we're going to flaunt to others and flex to others of what we can do and what they can't do. But that's what the enemy wants you to do, right? Is to fall into pride and remove this humble yourself. But the thing is, you have to remember, we go back to this, your very best. So the only person you are really beating is yourself, right? You're just beating this. There's two versions of yourself, okay? There's choice one and there's choice two. So if you're only beating yourself of what you should have been if you were lazy, then how can you compare yourself to someone else? How can you compare yourself to someone else who just hasn't simply realized that they're living the life that they don't want to live? Who are you to then point out that flaw to them when they probably already know? Instead of bringing them up with them, with you, and pushing them to be better. And when you have someone above you, you listen to them and work towards their level. When you have someone below you, to take them and bring them back up, right? It's the whole reason I started teaching on YouTube. To me, it's I can't contain information that I have to myself. If I truly think it's true, if I truly think it's useful, why would I not share it? And I can see the fruits of my labor, right? Like DWM literally is buying a house. Like, to me, that's insane. The fact that if I was in some way, in shape, or form in the process of him achieving his goals, or any of you achieving your goals, of even hitting a payout, or maybe even passing an evaluation, to me, that's worth it. Okay, so never become prideful when you do achieve your goals, because you're not better than anyone else. You're simply beating yourself. Okay, you're just beating your old version of yourself. So in this case, we have two choices. Okay, we have choice A, which is what's called our average self. Actually, let's call this our predestined self. And we have put choice B over here, which is our potential self. Only two choices, okay? Only two choices. There's no be the best version of yourself. There's only two choices. It's the life you're always supposed to live, or the life you could have lived. There's only two, right? There's not going to be 50,000 versions of Flux. It's just the one that made it or the one that didn't. Usain Bolt was the winner. When you run a race, there's only one person that wins the race. So if you get second, did you win? No, you lost. So it's either you win or you lose. You get first place or you lose. That's the mentality you have to have. So when we look at the potential self versus the predestined self, okay, there's only two choices. And you have to remember, you are actively choosing the life you are living. You're actively choosing the life you're living. So that means if you're actively living this and you're in these poor conditions, obviously I'm not telling you that just because you're born into poor conditions, that's the life you're choosing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're not happy with the conditions you're in and you're not doing anything to change it actively, you are actively choosing your predestined self, which is this very average self, right? And we a lot of times we're born with skills. We're born with these things that other people don't have. And just because we're using them lazily, we're automatically better than others. So then we take that for, at least I'm doing better than blank. But you're not using your full potential. You're not being the best. You're not being your very best. You're not being your potential self that you have no idea is capable of. No idea, right? So you're actively choosing the life you're living. You're actively either choosing choice A, which is your predestined self, or you're actively choosing choice B, which is your potential self, right? And the reason we may not be choosing our potential self is because back to this, the fact that either you'll be hated or you may hate the version of yourself that you'll become through the fact that, I'll be prideful, or I'll be this, or there's something of, it's feared. I don't think I'll be the same person. I don't think I think I'll be prideful. I think I'll be blah 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 blah. You don't know that, right? First of all, you don't know that. Second of all, it's up to you whether or not you want to do half those things. If you want to be hated, right? Obviously, like I said, you're going to be hated for being the best. It's completely unavoidable. But if you're a down to earth, genuine person, right, and someone has the preconceived notion that maybe you are a very bad, wealthy person, and they come up to you and you're a normal, chill person who just wants to bring them up, wouldn't that not be the best thing, right? Because when you can truly prove who you are and you never actually stepped into that pride, right? So you're actively choosing the life you're living, either this predestined self or this potential be. Let's give some examples of what each of these people are. So our predestined self, meaning the person you're born with, where if you just did absolutely no effort in becoming this potential self, this is who you're going to be, right? There's only two choices. You're not going to be this wide variety of different people, right? If I worked for a month really, really hard and then the rest of my life I didn't do anything, it's not a new version of myself. It's just my predestined self. This version does all the work that's necessary. So some characteristics of each of these people: lazy, half-assed, complains, delays, self-sabotages, right? And then the potential self is someone who is proactive, full effort in everything that they do, takes responsibility, never procrastinates, and self-believes. They believe in themselves, right? And obviously this person normally is going to be more externally motivated. This person is more internally motivated, okay? This person will do anything. I mean, obviously everyone's somewhat externally motivated in some sense, so I'm not going to say only externally motivated. So they're more externally motivated. They may be only motivated when there's some sort of thing to gain. Meanwhile, the potential self is more internally motivated because the fact that they are not choosing choice A, they're sick of choosing choice A. They're sick of being lazy. They're sick of half-assing and getting half of what they could have been. They're sick of self-sabotaging. They're sick of delaying. The fact that someone is choosing to be proactive, the fact that they are believing in themselves, the fact that they're actively taking the steps to be the best version, their potential self, is what drives them, is their why, is their motivating factor, right? If you want trading to work, you have to have a big why. Why do you trade? Why do you wake up in the morning? What are you doing it for? If you can figure that out, the how and the what will take care of themselves, right? And if you take care of the minutes, the days will take care of the hours will take care of themselves. That'll take care of the days, that'll take care of the years, that'll take care of your life. So you focus on what you can control right now to be actively choosing the potential self. Okay. Now, the problem with this is we have this jump. Okay. We have this jump from our normal self to our potential self. It's an active jump we have to take, right? So say, I'll give you an example. Maybe you're supposed to read today, right? And you're sitting on your couch, you're not doing anything. No one's hanging around you. You're just kind of lazily just sitting there. And you have that thought pop into your mind of, oh, I could complete that task today. I could read today, right? That's process focused. Your potential self knows what they're supposed to be doing. I always knows what they're supposed to be doing. Meanwhile, the predestined self will lazily, half-ass complain about why they can't be doing it or why they'll just do it tomorrow. Okay. And the problem with this is what's called, let me just type it up actually. This is action. Okay. Action is what's needed in order to become this. You need action. Okay. And the problem with action, if you know anything about biology, what is the chemical that is required for action? If I'm hungry and I want to go get up from my chair and go and get food, the neurotransmitter that is related to that is dopamine. Okay. Dopamine is our drive and motivator. Okay. It is our function of action that produces from this predestined self over to our potential self. It makes us more internally motivated. Obviously, we want to have dopamine, and through these actions, you'll have a very long-lasting dopamine curve. It looks more like this. compared to this predestined self, these dopamine curves of what you get from self-sabotaging is this. Actually, it's actually more like this, where you have this huge spike, this huge crash, and then you trace more coping mechanism. And eventually open high, low close. Open high, low close of your dopamine cycle. There you go. So if you have, right, let's look at this. If you only have 20 dopamine credits and it takes you 10 credits to go read, you're gonna feel like, oh, it's such a big thing to go and do, and you have such little credits in your bank account, in your mental account, that it's either feels like it's so much to go and do that, or once you do that, you feel so exhausted that you can't do the next task, right? So obviously we can talk about removing dopamine, removing all this useless crap from your life, but we want to have, in some sense, the most active available action credits that we can have. Okay, so all these things are effortless, they're easy, right? And this goes back to the last lecture we had about changing our discipline B to discipline A, where eventually when you do things over and over and over again, your brain rewires, where instead of going from here to here to here to here to here to, from X to Y in order to complete that task, it just smooths it out. Your brain will literally make new neurons and new neuronic connections where it's smooth, it's easy. It actually requires more energy to not go to the gym. You're already waking up at 7 a.m. You're already dressed yourself. You already ate lunch. Your body clock is already set to, I'm about to pump some iron. It takes more energy sometimes to then not do the thing you're supposed to be doing than what you're supposed to be doing. But obviously that takes time. Okay. So like I said, it's if you only have 20 credits and you try to do one of these things, it's going to be this huge decrease in what you're capable of doing, or at least effort of doing. And obviously it's not impossible that you willpower and force your way through every single task throughout the day. But when it's more automatic and when you have more available mental credit, those things are super easy to do. They flow, right? Now, we have to look at life as this stepping stone of kind of how it works, right? Which is basically we go down from here. So this is our average. Let's call this the predestined self. And this is our potential self. So in order to go from our predestined self to our potential self, we have to take action, okay? And each of these levels, and when I say potential self, it's not because this is the best version of ourselves, okay? I say potential self because our best version of ourselves that we think of mentally, of what car you're driving or what, that's obviously externally motivated. I'm saying trying to give tangible things to think about, but like whatever car you're driving, whatever house you live in, wherever you live, things like that, you don't know what it's going to be. You'll never know what it's going to be. So what you do is you always actively try to pursue being the best version of yourself. Even when you have all these things, are you going to get comfortable and then lose it all? Or you can, I'm not saying to be greedy. I'm saying to be always internally motivated of just, I'm actively taking the step to fight this off. Because I know some people are just sick of this. They're sick of living this. But the problem is we have no action towards that. So we're actively choosing this life then. We're actively choosing. It's not, oh, I'm waiting for something. It's no, you're actively choosing the sucky life. If you're actively blowing accounts, if you're actively not journaling, what result are you going to get? It's a very simple, your life is a very simple math equation, right? 1 + 2 will always equal 3. That's simple. So as we're taking these steps towards whatever our potential self will be, we never know what that's going to be. We never know what age we're going to reach it towards. The amount of mental effort that you need to go from here to here, you may need in the beginning 1,000. And then after 2 weeks, it'll be 100. After 3 weeks, it'll be 30. And what you're doing here is you're basically filling in, okay, all the stuff that I need to be doing right now becomes automatic. Okay, you have this building block. And when you get to step 2, all those are already automatic and they no longer take this mental action in order to achieve. And now you have even more mental capital to be doing other things, to be accomplishing different problems, to take on more stresses, right? There's a direct correlation with how much stress you can take and how much money you can make in this world. Direct correlation. And then obviously as you get to step 3, you'll have even 3 boxes where all these things are automated for you mentally or by even other people. And now you have all this mental capital to be fighting more problems, or even this generates free time. And obviously you don't want to be wasting that, but you do have more time on your hands if those things are automated for you. Now, the problem with this is as we take a leap here and we start to automate this, so it gets easier and easier and easier and easier. And obviously there's no lack of discipline in this. There's no shortcut away from discipline. You must be disciplined. You must do it when you don't feel like it. It's easy to do it when you like it. Easy. But this action, this is discipline as well. Okay. So when you don't want to do it, when you don't feel like doing it, when it sucks, that discipline, the fact that you're disciplined, that's what you get your drive from. That's what you get your satisfaction from. The fact that you're actively choosing to be disciplined and not this, right? Now, as we climb into the ranks, right, we are going to be in the bottom. This is what Patrick David was talking about. We're going to be in, there's the top 20% and there's the bottom 80%. As you jump from here to here, we're not going to like it, okay? Because it's something that's unfamiliar from us. It's something that you may be ranking yourself amongst other people in that category, and you're going to be at the bottom 20%, right? You try a new, say you play soccer, right? You're really, really good at the, just a simple give and go. You pass to one striker up top, he gives it back to you on the wing, you start dribbling up. And then as you try to now learn a new technique, maybe you try to learn the rainbow, okay? You try to flick it up over your head, get around the defender. As you start that technique, as you start this new sort of step up in your career, you're going to be in the bottom 80%. You're going to fail. It's going to be misdirection after misstep after failed whatever, okay? And it sucks being in this bottom 80% because you were just in the top 100%, the top 20% of your previous category. You were so good at the give and go. You were so good at whatever it was. And the fact that you don't like this jump pushes you back into here. You're like, oh, I'm comfortable where I was. I'm familiar with this. I'm good at what I do because I'm comparing myself to these guys down here who do absolutely jack squat in what they're actively doing. You're comparing yourself to this. You're comparing yourself to other predestined selves. You're comparing yourself to other people who don't take any initiative in making themselves a better life. So you think you're doing something, but you're not. You're not. Because you're actively not choosing to be this potential self. You're the person who always thinks that they're doing something. This is who you're going to be if you don't actively choose this. So instead we look at ourselves of, okay, at least I'm making this effort because I'm leveling up myself. And you know that after every failure, eventually you will make it to the top 20% of that skill, of that mental, and then all the mental capital eventually will be automatic. And now you have more to go to the next step. But we have to accept the fact that as we get good at things, we have to level up. And as we level up, we'll suck at it again. And then we got to get further up. And then we got to get further up. Right? So obviously with these mental capital barriers, there's always this next step you can be taking, and we never know how many it's going to go. You simply just do not know. And if you put a limiting belief, if you think, okay, this is my cap, you're limiting yourself. You're not, especially when you know this isn't my cap. You know there's more you can be doing. There's always something more you can be doing. So putting a limit of what you think you can be doing, or a limit of what you think you can be making, or that's why goal focused is also, it's a pitfall of thinking, because then you're just focused on reaching that goal, which is not even going to be the end, instead of focusing on doing all these things so that you can be this infinite self, this highest self that you can achieve, that you never will really know what you're going to be doing until you just focus on the process of the thing that's going to give you all those things. And obviously that's why I don't talk about trading be the end. Trading isn't the end. Trading is down here. Trading is the first step. You have to, and there's no choice but to do this. If you look at trading right here, then this block right here of risk managing or finding your model is going to be like, oh, I have so much time. And you go into this of like, okay, this is either unachievable, and we go back up to here of the fact that we subconsciously accept that we're unprofitable. And then this becomes this pinnacle that we should look at right at the end, instead of thinking that, okay, I was always predestined to be a trader. But my potential self is a 9-figure trader, is a 10-figure trader, or someone who creates a hedge fund, or someone who spreads the wealth to others, right? We don't know. But if we put this on a pedestal and we think that, oh, I'm unprofitable, and we tell ourselves of this is some pinnacle that I'll never be able to achieve, we're constantly putting ourselves at a disadvantage. Already think that you've it's a stepping stone. Think trading is a stepping stone. You have no choice but to be successful in it. Then it just flows. It flows. It's so easy. You have no choice but to do these things because there's no other option. You're actively choosing your predestined self otherwise. All right. So these little boxes here to recap are these easy brainless tasks that require less and less action in order to achieve them. Right. Eventually, in the beginning, making your bed is very difficult. It's just something you're not naturally doing. And then eventually it's just something I do. I don't even think about it. And you can divert that more mental capital into things that matter, right? Like managing yourself, managing your emotions, managing your mental capital. That all requires a very high active effort to be doing, right? It's not something that you can just, in the beginning, I'm saying, and obviously later on, it'll be more automatic and you'll realize your flaws. And as those emotions are growing more and more, but that's something that requires almost all of you to do. You're actively managing your emotions and your reactions that are completely human. And I'm not saying to become a robot. I'm just saying you have to watch what you think, filter your thoughts. What are the things you allow in? What are the things you allow out? The eyes are the windows to the soul. So are you allowing things in? Are you watching things? Are you absorbing social media content of everyone flexing their P&Ls and you're thinking that's something that I can't be? And then boom, now you're putting trading up here. Or are you thinking that's something that I have to achieve and that's something that I'm predestined to achieve? And now I have to look even higher of what I'm thinking. I got to be a 9-figure trader. Right? Talking about some 6 figures. Talking about some 9 figures. Put it. Who says you can't? Only you say you can't, right? Only you say you can't. No one else can't. No one else is going to tell you. Obviously, you're going to have haters, but are you going to listen to them? And there's nothing else in this world that's going to tell you that you actively can't, or nor can't you, right? Who says you couldn't, and why can't you? You can. If Rockefeller, who is a poor kid, had absolutely nothing, becomes a multi-billionaire who is hated and looked upon as an evil person. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm saying if someone who has absolutely nothing can get to the top and can be the very best, their very best, he probably didn't even reach his potential. But he worked for it, and he obviously, you don't want to be greedy. You want to be happy with where you are, happy for the process, and happy for the little things along the way. Stop and smell the roses. Enjoy the drives in the sun. Enjoy the things that you have. Enjoy your meals. The things that seem mundane, the things that you do every day, are the things that you're going to be doing every day regardless, right? You want to be a multimillionaire. You want to go in and live in Marbella and have a villa and be trading off the balcony. What are you going to be doing? Waking up, making your bed, brushing your teeth, drinking your coffee outside. It's those things that you're just going to be able to do somewhere else, that you're going to have drive and dopamine from that because you're like, I'm doing the thing I always would be doing, but look where it got me. You're not going to be doing anything different. You're going to be doing the same thing that got you there, but you're just going to be enjoying it more because now you're living in the fruits of your labor. Right. So we go back to the beginning of, obviously, as you progress and progress, you'll have more dopamine and more action units to be attacking those hard tasks, of attacking the things that are difficult to do, you know, um, in life and in the things around you. And this also goes to the fact that, number one, you have to allow yourself to be the very best. If you don't allow yourself, if you don't actively, if you hate that pinnacle of what you think yourself is, you'll never obviously achieve it. And number two, you're not allowing yourself to be the very best, right? We constantly self-sabotage, but maybe it's because we just simply don't think we can do that, or we just don't allow ourselves to be constantly diverting all of our attention and focus to be this potential self. So you have to allow yourself to be the very best in everything that you do, everything that you approach, everything that you set your eyes on, everything that you touch. You have to have the mentality in a sense of, I'm going to be the very best I can be at this thing. and if not the best amongst all of my peers. Okay. And then number two is obviously, like, we stems from the other thing, but welcome hate. What do you think is haters' job is to do, right? And we talked about this of basically, haters don't hate you for the fact that they don't like you. It may be because the fact that you remind them of what they could have been. So the fact that we may hate ourselves for being the best is because of that thing that we hold of, oh, we could be this. The reason that our current self hates it is because our ego and our identity thinks that we can't achieve that. Therefore, we hate what we can't become, or what we think we can't become. So then our body will constantly self-sabotage and hold us down. It just holds us down, holds us down, holds us down until you break those limiting beliefs, that ceiling, and you punch through it, and you realize there is no ceiling. It was just a figment. It's just fog up there. Then you just blast off. There's no ceiling. There's no roof to it. You got to remove that ceiling above you. So welcome hate, obviously, but then not from yourself. Okay. You want to have a lot of self-love and acceptance for the mistakes you make along the way. Okay. It's just an absolute must. You cannot be overly critical. I talk about this in psychology as well. You cannot be a critic. You got to be a coach. Okay. You obviously you fix the mistakes and you accept the mistakes. You accept full responsibility. Right in here, take responsibility and acceptance of what you did. You overtraded, you overleveraged. Don't blame it on something else. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on the market. Don't blame it on ICT or the concepts or whatever. You made the decision. You pulled the trigger. You were lazy. You didn't maybe do what you were supposed to be doing. That's responsibility. You had to accept the fact that, okay, maybe I shouldn't have been doing this, or maybe I should have been doing this, but never be a critic. Always just accept the fact that, all right, I'm imperfect from now on, or I'm going to constantly make an effort to be fixing this, because my old self would be self-sabotage and maybe very self-critical and not have any self-belief towards what they need to be doing. Okay. Number three is the fact that, obviously, we talked about this before, but you need to have fulfillment, satisfaction and fulfillment from growth and knowing you will never be a predestined / average self if you constantly strive and take action towards that goal of being the best. Okay. So you get your satisfaction from being intrinsically motivated, but the fact that you no longer will have self-doubt, the fact that you no longer will live in the fact of the shoulda, coulda, woulda, or the what if I had done this, or if only I had become the best version, or you'll never know. How can you live life and by the time you die, you'll never know what you could have been? And even if obviously you'll never know, I guess, but at least look where it got you. Look where that belief of actively working and actively striving, where it got you, right? So you get your satisfaction not from the things that you get along the way. You get your satisfaction from the growth of where you were to where you are now, and admiring that growth, not becoming prideful, and obviously knowing that you'll never be the predestined average self again if you constantly strive and take action towards that goal of being the best. Number four, and the final one, and the best reminder is that this life is here for the taking. You have to go out and get it. You have to take what you want. You have to go and actively pursue the things that you want and take it. Take it from this world. It's not stealing. It's not going to walk up to you on a freaking silver platter of, here's the best time to start. Here's the best time to change your ways. Here's the best time of when the gym is going to feel like you want to go. What? You have to wake up every morning. You have to approach every single thing that you do of, I am here to take what is mine. It may not be the whole thing, but I'm taking my portion. Right? This life is here for the taking, and no anyone else who thinks that it's going to be handed to them and there's some program that you follow to be the best, look where, it's not going to get you anywhere. If you want to be something, if you want to make an impact, if you want to stand out, if you want to not be this average, lazy self you could have been, you got to go and take it. You got to go and take action. You got to go and be disciplined. There's no other choice. There's only one or two things. I told you it's not this plethora of, oh, there's a bunch of different versions of yourself and which one are you? It's either you're the best or you're not. You either win the race or you don't. There's no tie. There's no, oh, at least you want something, you go get it. Period. All right. All this to say, okay, this is kind of how you approach things. Maybe relook at what you believe about yourself. Maybe relook at the fact of why are you holding yourself back to becoming the best? What are the limiting beliefs you have? I guess we'll leave them with some takeaways, right? Takeaway is number one. Takeaways. So maybe look at yourself of what limiting beliefs do you have about yourself / ceilings or maybe roofs that are holding you down. Number two, why do you, quote unquote, hate the potential self you could be, right? Why is it that you maybe in some shape or form, you somehow do not like the fact that you could be this? Maybe because it's someone that reminds you of what you could have been, or maybe it's too hard to be that, or maybe you think it's unachievable, right? In some sense, why do you think that it's unachievable and unrealistic that you could be all these things and have all these things, right? And then obviously give yourself, allow yourself to be the best and know you deserve it. That goes back to the last lesson about kind of self-identity and things like that, or how to program that in. But if you don't allow yourself to be the best, you'll never be the best, right? If you just constantly think, oh, I'm a C+ student, I constantly think that I'm just someone who just doesn't get things as quick. I'm just someone who is going to be a 6-figure trader. That's great. But why not push for 8? And then if you land among 7, it's still better than what you got or what you thought was a possible, right? Dream big. Shoot for what was that one quote? Shoot for the moon, because if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Don't shoot for something close by. Don't shoot. Obviously, the process is going to be achievable goals, and we talked about that last time. You got to make those achievable. Don't make it where, I got to do 50,000 pull-ups in a day and then you never do it. It's going to be impossible to be disciplined that way. But have goals that are beyond what you think that you can do, right? So allow yourself to be the best and know that you deserve it. If you don't feel like you deserve the things that are coming your way, if you don't feel like you deserve to be the best, you'll never actually take action towards that because you just constantly think I'm an unprofitable trader. I don't deserve making whatever or being successful. What are you talking about, right? This is the life that you want. This is the life you worked hard. I put blood, sweat, and tears literally into this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I spent thousands of hours researching this stuff. I've watched every single ICT video. I've studied my model. I've lost accounts. I've blown accounts. I've been one day away from funded payouts and blowing the entire account. If I don't deserve it, then who the heck else does? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of self-confidence you need to have in knowing that you deserve everything that's coming your way. And then some. Give yourself and allow yourself to be the best and know that you deserve everything. It's your time to win. It's your time to be on top. Stop settling for less. Stop settling for, oh, this is how it is. It's your time to be on top. It's your time to just take what's yours. It's your time to absolutely destroy the competition. And the competition is your old self. It's the lazy self. It's the one that just wants to sit there and not do anything and think it's handed to you on a freaking silver platter. It's your time to be on top. You're sick of just being lethargic and being at the bottom of the barrel or just being average. Or maybe you're slightly better than average. Be at the top. So then you have all the self-belief you want. Instead of, you look at other people and you're envious of them. Be at the top. Beat them. So then even if they have something more than you, you know that I did everything I said I was going to do, and I said it, and I did everything I was going to do, and I said it beforehand. I said I was going to do this. I said I was going to pass that eval. I said I was going to be the best version of myself. I said I was going to become a successful trader. There's no other option, right? And that goes back to this. If we keep trading at this pinnacle of the end goal, it's going to be impossible. It takes so much more longevity than if we just put trading as step here or step here. If it's just inevitable, we have to. It's just a part in our process. It's a cog in the wheel. But it is your time to be on top in life. Stop accepting the fact that other people are going to have it and you won't. It's your time to be on top. Allow yourself to be the best and know that you deserve everything that's coming your way and then some. Find out why you hate the potential self of what you could be, right? And why you don't maybe allow yourself to be the best. And then obviously identify the limiting beliefs that you have about yourself that are holding you down. And this all gets down to your why. Why do you wake up? Why do you want to be the best? Why do you want to be a trader? Why do you want to destroy your old self? Why do you want to beat your old self? Why do you want to crush all the self-doubt that you've had? Why? You figure that out, every other thing below it is easy. And then you wake up, you read it. You go to sleep, you read it. You remind, you review, re-remind until it's cemented into your brain, where every single time that you feel like you don't want to do something that requires action and you've got nothing left, how are you going to be disciplined? How are you going to take action? If you know that there's some sort of why of, I absolutely hate this. Don't hate this, hate being this, be sick of it. Nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So absolutely despise this. Hate it. Use in a sense, use your hate and direct it towards this. You must love this and hate this. It's not just, You can't just use your willpower alone to get to here. You must absolutely, it's a version of this and a love of this in a sense, of love of being self-belief. Who doesn't like having self-confidence? Who doesn't like being proactive and not having to worry about the things that were a problem yesterday, right? So if you get to your why and you re-remind every single time that it shows up, I don't feel like doing this, I don't want to do this, or I have an impulsive thought of over leveraging and over trading, why do I not do it? Why do I not do it? Why do I not pull the trigger? Why do I go and close out the trades and go back and journal? Why do I do that? If there's no why, then the what and the how is absolutely obsolete. There's no point. You don't feel any point as, why would I do that? If I have the possibility of just, after I take a loss, of just of maxing out my contracts and clicking sell, and then it becomes a plus 4,000 win, it's very easy to be outcome focused because that's the only thing that proves I'm doing what I need to be doing, I think, because, okay, at least I made some money, but you're like drifting. You're just drifting. You got to have a why, because then all the internal motivation fulfills that why of, I'm actively doing something. I'm actively taking action. I'm actively defeating my old self. I'm actively getting and creating the life that I want for myself, instead of just thinking it's going to walk up to me, or doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Not going to happen. All right, so we figure out our why from all these questions and remind yourself, review, re-remind, and ingrain it into your identity. You are someone who is blank. You are someone who is blank. I am someone who is blank. I am someone who is blank. And now the actions and the thoughts that don't align with this, now instead of dissolving your ego, you're now attaching your ego to something new. You don't dissolve it. That's impossible. You can't just remove your ego to the side and shove it to the side forever. You just you dissolve it, and then you reattach it, you reform it on this new identity that you're making. And obviously this transition from who you are now to then, unavoidable, but there's going to be pain. There's going to be pain, and there's going to be mental pain. There's going to be this pain of knowing that I have to make this change, and that's uncomfortable. It's leaving comfortability. And you're going to subconsciously self-sabotage because your body, your ego knows it's going to die. Everything that it knew beforehand is going to change. Why would it not try and fight for survival? Why would it not try and throw everything it can at you to try and keep what it knew to what it always is? As soon as you threaten that, your brain and your body and your ego will constantly try and throw everything from the book to try and stop you. It doesn't like that. Even the enemy, right? If you're spiritual in any sense, the enemy will actively try and do that to you. And how does he get to you? Through your thoughts, right? Anyone who reads scripture knows that. The only way he can get to you is through your thoughts. So if you can reshape your ego and attach it to this new identity where now you're actively having the factory under control, the factory that produces the thoughts, the factory that produces the words, the factory that produces the actions. If all those line up with this is so easy to freaking avoid. Because it takes, like I said, it takes more energy, and it's not even aligned anymore with your ego to be this. And now this is the easy thing. This is the thing that's natural. This is the thing that's habitual, where all the other stuff, it lines up. But the problem is, like I said, it's you're going to be in that bottom 20% in the beginning. But if you can just do it it may take, think about this, it may take you 30 days of doing all those things together to where it becomes almost habitual, to where it requires less mental energy, to the fact where you get so much satisfaction from just doing that you never will look back. Your risk management system, why would I ever break those rules? Because I know that's my safety net. I'll never blow an account again. I'll never feel that pain of being inadequate or of being a failure. If I just do one thing and attach my ego to it for 30 days, my whole life will change. That's what you have to think, right? And like I said before, you are actively choosing the life you are living. So if you don't like the life you are in and you do nothing absolutely about it, you're actively choosing it. You want to be this predestined self. You're so lazy that you just accept this is your reality. And then when you eventually, when you're old and with regret, or when you see someone else who represents what you could have been, you hate them. Or you accept defeat. Never accept defeat. Never quit. It's just setbacks, okay? I've lost thousands of dollars in this game. It's just setbacks, okay? like anyone who's made or at least taken a payout or even just an eval, your risk management is the amount of money that you lost beforehand. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's this is a scaling game. Within 5 months or within 6 months or within a year, you can be doing more than you ever thought was possible in that short amount of time. But as we actively choose and as we actively delay and as we actively self-sabotage and not even go in and do this, freaking 4 bullet points on a YouTube video. This video is going to get 300 views on YouTube, and that's fine. But if 3 people out of this are able to just look at this and write down and take 10 minutes out of your day, don't got to do it now. I know it's late, but if you can take 10 minutes out of your day tomorrow and just simply just answer these questions and think critically, you'll find so much you'll like, it'll be crazy because you'll understand your why. You'll understand all these little things that you never really put thought into as to why am I self-sabotaging, right? We just kind of accept sometimes, oh, I'm self-sabotaging, I'm blowing accounts, and I have a good model and all these things. But then all of the self-sabotage stems into all of this. Why have limiting beliefs about this YouTube video? That's true. That's true. I pray to God it has 300K, but I know no one likes to really watch 53-minute long videos anymore, even if it can change their lives. So it's unfortunate, but sometimes that is reality, I guess. But yeah, maybe I have limiting beliefs about that. Let's pray and hope that everyone gets to see this. I pray and hope everyone gets to see my YouTube channel and the truth I think it has to offer everyone about time and price and obviously psychology as well, and about the Lord. But anyways, a whole lot of information there. I know it's a lot and I don't want to keep it super long. So that'll be it for today. Appreciate everyone joining and listening to my yap. I hope it was insightful. This will be on YouTube publicly, probably by tomorrow. So if you have any questions, if it helped you in any sense, like the video, subscribe, leave a comment below about anything that hopefully can help someone else. All right. Hopefully, we'll be having a stream tomorrow for price action. So you can join the private group, pick up the PDF, etc., and you will not be disappointed. All right. So take care this weekend. Get a good night's rest for tomorrow. And I'll catch you guys soon. Peace.